This is the Open Space and Ecology meeting of February 19th. Roll call. Looks like we have everybody except Glenn.
Yes.
Okay.
And she did let me know she wouldn't be here and sent her apologies.
Oh, she is going to be absent tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
She had a paper that needed to be revised on very short notice.
Okay.
So she sent her apologies.
Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Can we see the agenda on the thing? So, yeah. Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oral communications. I see a member of the audience.
Thank you.
Open Space and Ecology would like to welcome Ray Miller to the microphone. Rock star in Brisbane, in my opinion. And one of the founding forces of this committee.
Yeah, so it's like coming home, so thank you. I just thought that every now and then I get some thoughts, and I thought I'd share them with you all. Two of them involve maybe some additional work, so you may want to take them with a grain of salt, but I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. The first two are things that have been brought up in the past, and as far as I know, are still outstanding and have not been accomplished. And I will defer to the staff to make sure that I'm right about this. The first one has to do with the general plan. As you know, the reason for the establishment of this committee was the making of an open space plan for the city of Brisbane. And that was our first major task that was accomplished in the early 2000s. And in effect, it is really a part of the general plan, but it was not really incorporated in the actual general plan document. It's a separate document. And when UPC first applied for the Baylands, the idea of the planning staff was that the EIR for the Baylands would be the basis for the update of the 1994 general plan. And the most significant update actually is the inclusion of the open space plan. And this committee, different membership then, but this committee went to work and actually provided all the language and all the places where the open space plan would be incorporated into the general plan. That particular set of changes to the general plan never happened. First of all, because that particular plan of UPC was superseded by another plan. And when I brought this up to the planning director, he was, reluctant to start changing the general plan when big development project was underway. But of course, we know quite recently the general plan has been modified significantly. And so in my own mind, I can't see any reason why we don't also bring the general plan up to date with the open space plan, which is clearly an obligation of this body. So I think, Karen Kinzer, I think I'm right in my presumption that it's never really been incorporated in the general plan.
That is correct to my understanding, yeah.
Yeah. So you need to, obviously work with all the, if you want to take on this task and do this updating of the general plan for the open space, then you of course need to work with the staff, need to work with planning and all the other parties. But it would seem to me that it's time to do this, and it also sort of brings us back again to the general plan open space element, because it can be a separate element of the general plan. So that's the first suggestion I bring to your attention for, as I say, more work for you all. So sorry about that, but it does seem to me that this was one of the major motivations for establishing this body in the first place. The second idea was one that was floating around for a while when we were looking at the Brisbane acres and when we were acquiring them, and a concern that came up on the Brisbane acres, and I'm sure you're going to be talking about that on your agenda later this evening, has to do with the fact that on the properties that the city has acquired, there's been and there's continuing to be the management of the invasive species. But there are other privately owned properties that are immediately adjacent in which the invasive species thrive, and there is no legal access to do anything about it. So the committee came up with an idea, and we tested it out with the city attorney, and it passed his approval. This was Hal Topple, so some time ago. Mm-hmm. The idea was to create an invasive species overlay for the Brisbane acres, particularly which is considered a critical butterfly habitat. And the idea was that using the health and safety powers of the city, we could establish something comparable to the weed abatement regulation. That these property owners need to take care of the invasive species to prevent them from migrating to adjacent properties, critical habitat for butterflies. And those property owners that didn't do so, the same thing would happen as is the case with the weed abatement regulation. The city would then move in with somebody like you do with vegetation management now and do the job and then charge the property owner the cost of that. So it's kind of habitat overlay, invasive species on private property in the Brisbane acres. So it was an idea that came up in the committee, which we were in favor of. We proposed. It was in one of our annual reports. We tested it out with the city attorney. He said it was fine. But to the best of my knowledge, again, it's never been implemented. So anyway, I bring that to your attention. That's something you might want to consider.
Ray, do you have any documentation on these that would be beneficial?
Beg pardon?
Do you have any documentation on these two things that would be beneficial? That then we could pinpoint it and help the city to find those documents or timelines for each of those things? I know that's asking a lot, but I also know you have very good record keeping and a good memory.
To my knowledge, what I'm telling you orally is about all that you'll find in writing as well. I mean, you will find the recommendation from the Open Space and Ecology Committee.
Do you remember the year?
Oh, I'd have
I'm
to.
just saying what I'm saying, because we could go back and look at the committee minutes.
I can.
We knew around the time frame.
Yeah. And the city attorney at the time was Hal Topple, so that tells you something.
He was our city attorney for a long time.
Yeah, right. That's for sure.
And he made a lot of, policy and recommendations during that time. So
what we could find is the agreement of the committee that's in the report, Hal Topple's agreement that this would come under the health and safety powers of the city. That we could find. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that it's ever drafted into an actual ordinance language.
And what about the work that was done to incorporate the open space plan into the general plan?
That's all been written, and so that's available.
And so that is available?
I'm sure that John Sawicki has that, would know about that, and it's all in their computer files. And I'm sure that that's available in the city records.
I have a question for you, sir. We set out to work on a cap update recently, and it was recommended that we set it aside because the Baylands is currently in play. And do you have any thoughts about that?
What do you mean by cap?
Climate action plan.
Our climate action plan.
Climate action plan.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I just kind of feel like, just like the Baylands said, you cannot hold us, like UPC said, you cannot hold us hostage to the potential project of high-speed rail. I am sort of frustrated as a member of this committee that our cap process is now being held hostage by the Baylands process. So, I mean, but maybe that's just my personal perspective, and that's not valid in the policy arena. But it's frustrating to me.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I share your view. And I had long discussions with one Mr. Sawicki about this issue. Mm-hmm. He has a different point of view.
Yeah.
Which I happen to personally disagree with. Mm-hmm. But even when I was on the city council, I was not able to get any movement on it because, when a department chair takes a strong position, it's going to be backed by the city manager, and then most of the council is going to go along. I mean, that's just the political reality. So I guess I can share that I agree with you, and I don't think there is the legal impediment that will be mentioned. But only the city council, once a department head has made a recommendation, only the city council can override that. Yeah. And they're very unlikely to do that.
Okay. It's just a little, first of all, we need to do this. Second of all, the hypocrisy is kind of, making me twist in my seat.
So I'd like to weigh in a little bit on this cap issue, if I could, because I think there is a legal issue, and that was a recommendation that was given to us by both the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the Air District, was that we cannot move forward with a climate action plan that estimates emissions while we do not have an estimate of emissions from the environmental documentation for the Baylands. So until we have that, there is no way for us to reasonably account for the emissions and be able to say what reductions we are going to be able to make. Yeah. And moving forward without that included would subject the city to a lawsuit, as has occurred in at least 2 other jurisdictions in the state that move forward with developments that did not align with their climate action plan. Mm-hmm. So that is the situation that we find ourselves in, and I wish we could move forward with the cap sooner as well. As you know, we are already halfway down that road, and that is the situation that we have.
Can I ask a question, Adrian?
Sure.
Why don't we have we've done a full, 6,000-page environmental impact report on the Baylands, and
not the project that is actually currently being proposed and built.
And when do we have an expectation of when we would have that?
Well, as we're going to discuss later on our agenda, the notice of preparation of the EIR is going to be released in the next couple of days. For the specific plan.
Okay.
So that will kick off that process.
And then once that is, once the comment period is closed and that's approved, then would we have an estimate of the emissions and be able to move forward with our climate action plan?
Well, so the notice of preparation is that they are starting the EIR process, and what should they look at and study in the EIR. So once that comment period closes, then they will actually begin the preparation of the EIR, and we need to wait for the results, essentially, of that. Whether we can move forward with at least some, before it is fully approved, I am not certain, but we at least need them to run the numbers.
So we could be, is there an estimated timeline on that?
I do not have a timeline.
Because the last EIR took,
9 years.
9 years.
I do not have a timeline, and
okay.
I have already made the point that this is something that we need to try to move forward on as soon as we can, but obviously there are other
Yeah.
other factors at play.
I mean, I think at some point we need to have a contingency plan, because I don't think we should allow our CAP process to be held up for 9 years.
Or however long.
Or however long.
But Adrian, thank you very
Yes,
much for
thank you.
clarity on that and for staying on top of that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And having the facts behind the case, because we would not want to do anything to jeopardize the city
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Mr. Miller.
May I just say that
Please do.
I agree with the fact that you need the environmental organization information before you go ahead. I was certainly not recommending otherwise. Just wanted to make sure that it's clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, if we proceed with items 1 and 2 that you mentioned, would you be available to, as a citizen, to be able to participate and help us with guiding that, with your experience of what you've done in the past?
Yeah,
on
of
it?
course.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some substantial role in both of those. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I would like to move forward on both of those things, because I do vaguely remember both of those things, and if they are our responsibility to drive that initiative forward, then we will, and we would love to be able to call on your help and guidance with that.
Okay. I have one more point, if I
Okay.
may. Yeah.
You can talk on.
Yeah, no,
Right,
I
Ray.
don't want to take too much time, and so sorry I've taken so much time already. But
No, you bring such valuable insight to us.
The staff will be especially interested in this one, because I have some concerns about the job description of the sustainability manager, which is on the council agenda tomorrow night. And I don't know whether that came through this committee or not.
No?
No.
But I assume one of the individuals sitting right over there would be a top candidate for that position. It makes a lot of sense that that would be the case. And I have no problem with having such a position, or the city's commitment that's being made with that kind of budgetary staff. Modification, really, of the structure of the city and its staff. But there are a couple of problems, and I guess maybe since you haven't really reviewed it, I'm taking that's the case. I guess I'm really bringing to your all attention and what I'm concerned about. The way the sustainability manager is described, it's pretty much the same kind of reporting responsibility that exists today for Adrian, really. It's pretty much the same.
For
Adrian.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same. And my idea is that sustainability is really a community-wide, therefore a city-wide responsibility. But in the structure of reporting, the sustainability manager reports to the public works director. Now that's interesting, because another position being set up is called the communications manager, and that position does report to the city manager. Now the reason I'm concerned about this is that many of the sustainability measures go beyond what happens in public works.
Yes.
And I'm thinking particularly of the planning department. And there is no specific mention in the job description about collaborating and working with the planning department. And there's no specific mention of working on the general plan. There's no specific mention of working on projects. There's no specific mention of a sustainability framework, which is for the Baylands. So what I am guessing, it's a guess, that this position was carved to be consistent with the current situation. But I think if you're going to up somebody to that level of responsibility, it ought to be a bigger responsibility. It ought to encompass all elements of the city that are involved in making sustainability work. It certainly includes public works and public engineering and water and all the things that they do, absolutely. But it also includes all the things that planning does.
Yeah.
And they're a big part of making sure that things are done in a sustainable way in the community. So I just wanted to express my concern that I think this position is not being conceptualized in as broad a fashion as it ought to be in terms of actually getting comprehensive implementation. So I
is
just
this a
wanted
new
to bring that to your
position?
attention.
I'm sorry, I since I have seen nothing about this, I'm a little clueless.
This is on the consent calendar for the city council tomorrow night.
So, just Karen?
Am I right?
Yeah, it is, and
Mhm.
I mean, I would say I don't want to belabor this at the committee, but you did kind of bring this up, and I think the structure has to do with the fact that OSEC staffing was looking for a home when the assistant to the city manager retired, and you know that you had Stuart Schillinger staffing for a bit, and he was potentially, it was, for whatever reason, it was moved, and I volunteered, and I was giving the committee, and I'm a Public Works staff member, so OSEC was kind of brought under the Public Works umbrella, and then we moved from a part-time, we started with an intern, then a part-time management analyst, which was Lisa Ponacorvo and Natalie, and we were able to convince upper management and the council to have a full-time employee, a sustainability management analyst, and we hired someone, and that was Adrian, so that was still under the Public Works umbrella. So the concept of having a sustainability manager was just kept in that department, but I do want to reassure you that we work very much with all the other departments, and maybe not specifically saying that in a illustrative list of duties was not intended to exclude that in any way, and there have been a ton of initiatives that Adrian spearheaded that have been citywide procurement policy, improvements to other departments in their energy and waste, working closely with the planning department, working on the sustainability framework, and how that might integrate as the Baylands develops. That's happening, in the fact that it wasn't spelled out in the duties was more of a, I don't know, not an oversight, but not specifically listed as opposed to meant to be excluded from.
So may I ask, this is not a new position, this is an upgrade? Or how can I
don't know if there's a difference.
Okay, because I thought Adrian already was the sustainability manager.
Well, it's a different title with a different pay scale.
But all under the same. So how could we best address the comments that Ray has to ensure that the sustainability manager role, I understand that currently you don't consider it to be an issue or a problem, but what's current isn't always what comes in the future. And so I'd like to, kind of address the points that Ray brought up, that a person at that level should really, I guess, maybe not be reporting to Public Works so much as directly to the city manager, or because it is a very critical role that becomes more and more critical as time goes on, as you can see by the amount of work that Adrian's done and the background knowledge that she's gained. And I hate to see us hampered by a reporting hierarchy rather than what the job entails.
Or if we just change the job description to add those things in so that it's not there.
I'm glad to bring the comments up, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're going to change, and I would say that there have been discussions about in the future when the Baylands develops and the job maybe even grow, or the department even grows more, that maybe it would be in the city managers, but it still makes sense now to be what it is.
Public Works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why it doesn't report up even to planning rather than public works, or does planning report to public works? I don't really understand that part.
They do not, but I will just mention that this role of sustainability manager or management analyst, or every different city kind of has a different title for it. It sits in different departments in a lot of different cities. It is often in public works. It is occasionally in planning. It is sometimes in the city manager's office. We all pretty much do very similar things, regardless of where we sit. So I take your comments with I don't disagree with them necessarily, but I don't think I really don't see that it has a whole lot of impact on the work that I do, because I think in a small city like Brisbane, I have had a lot of leeway to bring forward projects, as Karen said, and it is very easy to coordinate with the planning department and others.
I would love to think that you would stay with us forever, Adrian. But that might not be the case, as you well know. I mean, somebody could come along and seduce you away, and then and then we would be in a position where the job description
Wouldn't match our expectations.
wouldn't match the expectations. So I would like you to bring up. I don't want to forestall the process, because I think it's important. But at the same time, I do think that the comments that Ray made are very salient to this position and the future of it, and the future of the department, and how much more important that is going to be as we move forward with the Baylands and the other issues that we're facing. So,
Yeah, I hear the concern.
okay. And will you be able to voice that concern in time for tomorrow night, or should I?
Oh no, I'll bring it up. I
Okay.
mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't think the committee that it makes a lot of. I mean, certainly you can have.
It's not our job to make that decision. It's outside of our purview. I completely understand that. But I would invite you to come and make those comments tomorrow night to the people who are making the decisions, if you feel still.
Yeah, well, I
uncomfortable with
was planning to, but
it. Okay.
I think the group that understands that situation the best is sitting right here.
But we are not decision makers in
Yeah,
this.
I know,
right?
I understand that, but that's why I mentioned it tonight, because you understand
Yeah.
and right away you
We appreciate
picked
that.
up on what my concern is too. I'd just like to say that I think the Open Space and Ecology Committee has been extraordinarily lucky in having fantastic staff.
Yes,
I really
we
mean
are.
I really,
We are, and we know it.
I mean,
You know, and we
first-
say it.
You know, first it's Chris Smith, and then there's Karen Kinzer, and I mean, you
Bob's
couldn't
there is like
ask for
amazing.
better staff,
Yeah.
including cities that got several 100,000 population. You know.
Yes.
So we really have been unbelievably fortunate in that respect. And I understand, things can work informally with certain people in positions. But what I was thinking about was, just like Michelle said, what I was thinking about is when you set a precedent that sticks, I mean, it could be there for 50 years, you know. I mean, things just don't change once they get established in the hierarchy of the job structure or of policies or procedures. They just get stuck there, and then people follow them, and 20 years from now, the people who hear won't even know why it's there, you know. I mean,
Right.
it's gone, you know,
Yes.
the history's gone.
Yes.
And so it's important, in my mind, to think about things like this right from the beginning, to make sure that the appropriate perspectives are there so that people can understand. And this is my own view, that sustainability is a comprehensive, holistic responsibility, which I'm sure people sitting over there and here fully understand.
Yeah,
They do.
no doubt.
And they
I'm just
treat it
worried
that way.
about getting it built into something that lasts for a long time, and then, you know, people come along who don't really comprehend that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's all.
I want to emphasize that the council drives a lot of the sustainability policy and
Right.
direction in this town, I think, and they
They're behind
are
it.
work with us very closely
Right.
and ask Adrian to get involved in. So that's happening at the council level. So who you're electing,
And that's a changing palette too,
Yeah.
Right.
but who you're electing makes that happen.
Right.
So that's
Right.
which is why we'd like to have it
Staff changes, council changes.
more a little bit as it comes, crafted the best that we can at the time with the council that we have at the time. And so I do hope you come and make these
Yeah,
comments
I'll
tomorrow
make a
night.
stab at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether
Because-
I succeed or not, I don't know.
You know,
But that's my concern,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with the quality of the staff,
Oh,
which is absolutely
God,
correct.
no.
Believe me.
We are very, very lucky
Yeah.
to have 3 people here who care as much as they do and work as hard as they do. So, thank you.
Okay.
As
very much.
usual, enlightenment.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ray. Well, let's just move on to the next thing. Did everyone get a chance to read, and does anyone have any comments on the January minutes?
I have one small comment I did not get a chance to send to Adrian, and that is that I also was involved in the science fair.
Oh.
Yeah. I also sent email to the school because I didn't know Mary was sending email. So they got double whacked.
Good.
Okay, I mean, I guess I just wrote it as I was reporting what Mary had sent me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
sure, I can adjust that.
Okay. Is there any other changes to the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we go on to our 2020 work plan. Implementation of the Climate Action Plan, OSAC, to work with staff on implementing the 2015 CAP measures and providing outreach.
My recollection is there was some discussion. There were several people missing last meeting, and so the group had asked to have an opportunity to relook at this meeting. I don't know if you want me to go through the whole kind of list of items again. I think probably most of you will recognize most of the items are kind of continuing items from previous work plans. So I'll probably just focus on where there are some changes.
Okay.
Obviously, we passed the building efficiency program, so now we're moving on to implementing that. The lighting ordinance, I believe, was already on there, but may not have been. And then the disposable foodware ordinance was something that was not on our agenda previously and was added because the county has been working on that, and we have an opportunity to move forward and adopt a kind of copycat legislation on that point. I believe everything else on this page is kind of continuing ongoing items.
Okay.
Are there any questions on these points?
Well, I know the lighting ordinance people are going to have their work cut out for them because we now have a extremely bright, large parking lot out on the Baylands for 100 buses with,
Need to go and look at
huge amount of light blowing up into the sky. And a lot closer to home, Midtown Market is, radiant. And we really do need to get a handle on this because and the compliant issues where I believe the situation out on the Baylands, it was in their permit that they have to point their lights down.
Yes, it
And
was.
that's not happening.
Yeah.
And so where's the enforcement yet again for something that was approved at planning? So I don't know what to do about that.
Well, we did actually sort of do an informal survey, the dark sky survey. We've met twice now,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
and started looking at that. That was one of the
Can you
areas.
speak into the mic? Our mics
Oh.
seem, I don't know if they're okay on the video end, but they seem kind of faint on
Might
the
just be
end.
me.
Okay.
So that was one of the areas that we identified was obviously a problem area. That, Ecology, and Crocker Park are kind of the big three things that are contributing to it. The residential areas of Brisbane, aside from the odd person who just really loves porch lights, it's not really an issue. It's
Became
overwhelmed.
an issue about 3 weeks ago at Midtown.
Fair enough. But the vast majority of the light pollution is coming from three locations: Crocker Park, Ecology, and then the sort of that bus depot. And it's just basically low or no cutoff, wide area, 4K LED flood lamps. There's
Do we want to do the report on the dark skies right now, or do we want to do that
I
in the
think
next?
we'll leave that under subcommittee report.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Let's move on then.
Okay. So is there anything else on the? Okay.
Believe pretty much everything on here are continuing items: vegetation management, habitat restoration, education and outreach, the 2001 open span policy, recommendation, input on the design of the Baylands open space, and general plan open space elements. So
I guess we have the two things that Ray brought up tonight that should be on our work plan.
well,
And one of
Are
them
they?
is the general plan, review of future proposed updates to open space element upon direction from City Council. So I'd like to craft it to kind of incorporate the open space plan with the general plan, and so that it kind of matches what, a little bit more about what.
Maybe that fits under number 6.
It's really number 8, because the open space plan goes into the general plan.
You have to make a policy recommendation to do that, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so it starts with 6, I think.
Sure.
And then the Brisbane Acres thing kind of goes back up to the invasive species ordinance,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Number 4.
So I'd like to add that health and safety powers invasive overlay for the acres.
it's under 4, the second bullet point, draft study and
second,
draft invasive species ordinance.
So maybe we can flesh that out just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything else on the work plan? Vegetation management plan.
So we are ready to get on-point land management under contract again. Just want to briefly go over what they're proposing to do. So the Harold Road site would be summer maintenance spraying of French broom, fennel on the ridge, cruise area for any new weed species, cotoneaster, myoprim, etc. In the central area, Humboldt, water tanks, and Lower Firth Canyon. Here's the area map and treat any remaining small populations of invasive species in all city-owned parcels between Harold Road and Margaret Upper Paul Avenue sites. Species focus on broom, fennel, cotoneaster, and pine retreatments. Continue to manage Earhart grass and other invasives in the Lower Firth Canyon to facilitate native revegetation. In the west, Margaret Upper Paul Avenue. Cut and treat resprouting eucalyptus stumps. Continue treating French broom in understory areas. Stump treat eucalyptus, acacia, and cotoneaster resprouts along Mountain Watch new trail system, social trail. I guess they're attributing that to Mountain Watch. Treat mist eucalyptus sprouts in upper power line areas and lower slope of Paul Avenue in the parking area. Treat any new populations of Earhart grass and acacia resprouts in the stewardship areas. Add erosion control as necessary. And then we had been doing kind of testing of brush areas. Cut, treat native brush species and prioritize grassland areas throughout the acres. Expand on previous sites along the ridge lines in the water tank areas and begin new treatments on the ridge above Harold Road. Consult with county parks to help prioritize areas based on mountain-wide goals and areas with high native grassland species richness. And then they will update base maps so that they show us what they've done and where they've traveled. They'll get site activity permits. And we talked about doing a meeting in the summer that was a hike and kind of a on-site, because we have some new members and maybe they haven't seen native plants and the habitat and how it all is laid out. We can't cover all the area, but we'll pick something that's not too strenuous and the most informative.
Okay.
So
Comment?
that's what's proposed, yeah.
Questions?
Interested in your feedback.
Do we have the budget to do all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That's great.
Yeah.
I support.
Okay.
Just wanted to add that in the past you had asked if we check in with the county, but I do know that On Point is also consulting with the county for some of the vegetation management. So since he's also advising us, I think it's pretty integrated at this point of what he's doing where and how that aligns with what the county's got going on
Okay, great.
of the acres.
All right.
I'm very thankful that the city of Brisbane is taking this seriously and that we seem to actually be making headway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I think is miraculous considering the amount of land we have under conservation and just some of the invasive species, how tenacious they are. So I just wanted to throw those good words out there.
Yeah. Which is why an invasive overlay would be really
It'd be
good
helpful.
for going this
Yeah.
way, this way, this way, this way.
Stuff
Yeah.
keeps coming in.
Okay. Do we need to approve it or
Yeah.
motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is determine subcommittee to review the Baylands specific plan EIR notice of preparation.
So just wanted to quickly update the group on my understanding of the current timeline of this. So I expect that the notice of preparation will be going out by the end of the week, and we'll be opening a 30-day comment period, which will end something around March 20th, I believe, would put the date. So this would be for the Baylands specific plan, the notice that they are going to begin preparing the EIR, and so this is really just the opportunity to comment on what will be studied in the EIR.
Sorry, I haven't got my. So March 20th, is that before or after our next meeting? I haven't got my calendar.
Well,
Just after.
Well, we don't actually have a next meeting because it's the Jeopardy night.
Oh, yeah.
which is why we are recommending that we have a subcommittee that can really take the time to dive into this. I mean, ultimately, it's up to the committee's discussion here, how you'd like to handle it. We knew that the committee would want to weigh in, so we wanted to make sure
Adrian?
we had it on your agenda to figure out what that plan would be. But a subcommittee would probably be the most flexible in being able to, take the time and schedule potentially multiple meetings if needed.
Yeah, it is something I'd like to come before the full committee, though, so I'm not quite sure. Can we, this might be a really bad idea, but can we slice and dice? Can we have two different subcommittees to look at two different aspects and kind of break it up?
I haven't seen it, so I have no idea
Well,
how to really say whether that is or is not possible.
Yeah.
Carl, I think, was trying to say
Yeah.
something.
Oh, sorry, yes.
I think you answered it. I was just going to clarify more on the scope, what's defined within the notice of preparation.
Yeah.
Just
So-
don't know yet.
I don't know the details, but I think we all will within the next couple of days.
One thing that could help us get through this process a lot faster is to go back and pull the notes for the notice of preparation comments that we made for the main EIR, because I don't think that they've probably changed all that much.
So we're not reinventing the wheel.
So that we're not reinventing the wheel, and that we make sure that we cover the areas that we studied so diligently in that
Yeah.
document.
I've still got everything I wrote, which is a small Bible.
Well, I guess, are you volunteering to be on the subcommittee?
I would be on the subcommittee, yeah.
One thing I also wanted to mention is I understand there's going to be a public meeting. I believe it is currently scheduled for Wednesday, March 4th.
About this?
Yes, about this public meeting.
Okay.
Do you know daytime or evening yet?
Evening.
Okay.
I want to say 7, but that might be off.
Can you get us information, send us all, follow up?
If you are getting the city's email, you will be getting it.
It'll be in that.
It will, they will be multiple communications going out, is my understanding, when it is released to anybody who's on
Hurry up.
city email list, Baylands email list, anything.
Is everybody on the committee on that do they get the city blast and all that?
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
you're
Yes.
talking about the city blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
It
also on
should be
the
included there.
homepage. There's
Yeah,
something
there's a
there
Baylands
that you can
page
click on.
Okay.
as well. I'm
Okay,
sure
cool.
they will have it in all of those places.
Cool.
So you should be getting that as well when it goes out.
It's unfortunate that we didn't know this before we scheduled the Jeopardy
I
night.
know, that's just the.
Is there an appetite to have is there even a possibility of having a?
I would.
Move the Jeopardy night to April?
No, we can't.
No, we can't do that because we've
Yeah.
already put out too much PR on it.
Yeah.
But possibly a meeting.
Yeah.
But
All of us get together and go.
yeah, because I guess it really depends. But I'd like to have a contingency plan because we really should, decide as a committee what we really want. And not that I don't trust the subcommittee or whatever subcommittee we set up, but it's a little bit more potent when it comes from the whole committee than just the subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility of having a meeting maybe Monday the 16th? How does the committee feel about that?
I think that would be difficult. We are hoping that the committee will all come on the 18th to the Climate Jeopardy event.
Well, yeah,
Adding-
but that's not a
That's
meeting.
different.
Yes, I understand. However, that's maybe
We
not
need
ideal
to
for-
we need to figure it out soon, because if we're going to throw in an extra meeting, which I'm kind of inclined with Michelle to do, we need to notice it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to figure that out.
Your mic's off.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to do that.
Of the committee?
Is there a second for that motion?
Yeah, I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh my gosh.
Would we have a quorum? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, that depends on what day we pick.
Well, yeah.
So,
we can do
we
that.
discussed this option, and really, there were very limited dates that I think looked like they were going to work. It seemed like March 9th or 10th. It seemed like March 9th or 10th, Monday or Tuesday, March 9th or 10th, were probably the best options. This room is not going to be available.
That's
A
fine.
number of other evenings.
So do we need to be prepared for the March 4th meeting?
So that's a public meeting. You
Okay.
can contribute, or you can do both. And OSEC will have, if you have comments, we'll submit them from the committee. But the other one's for the public, and you're welcome to do both, or.
Okay.
I think it might be to our advantage to have our meeting afterwards if we are going to have another meeting, because we will have had the
after the
benefit of
4th.
that meeting happening.
And the 16th gets a little close to when the comments are due.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 10th or 11th is
The 11th is not available. There's a park
Oh,
and recreation.
what date did you say again?
9th or 10th.
9th
Monday
or 10th.
Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And we didn't discuss, but we may not televise that because I don't know if you guys care if we televise it or not.
Either of those dates work for me.
I think the 9th might be better because we've got dark skies on the 10th.
Yeah.
We can move dark skies. If
Yeah.
if the 10th is what works for everybody else, just let me know.
Okay, what do people feel? I'll just take a straw poll. Mary,
Yeah.
what date?
Yeah, the 10th.
Megan?
Either.
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 9th.
Well, either, but I kind of would like to revisit the thought of doing that via subcommittee, because there might be some benefit in someone taking a deep dive and then at least informing the rest of us versus all of us trying to argue about it.
No, we're still going to have a subcommittee. The subcommittee is going to report out on that meeting, and then the committee is going to discuss what the subcommittee reports out.
Oh, okay. I thought we were trying to do it in lieu of
No.
getting a subcommittee on.
No,
Okay, good.
no,
That was my
no.
concern. Never mind. We're good.
Okay. Sorry, that wasn't clear.
That was just
Okay.
So the date?
So date?
9th or 10th is fine.
Okay, so we have basically,
Sounds like the 10th.
Sure.
Okay.
I can do the 9th. I mean,
I think the 10th is better. It gives us one more day.
Yeah.
Sure.
So-
We'll move dark skies.
Okay.
Okay.
We move it to Monday?
That's fine.
Okay,
What
so
Okay.
tentatively scheduled March 10th meeting for
6:30.
open space and ecology. The only item on the agenda will be this. Okay, so it'll be a single item agenda.
Time?
What time is everyone able to be here and be on time?
6:30.
Everyone able to
Stick
be
to
here?
6:30.
6:30? Okay.
It might be better closer to 7. I'm not sure. My wife doesn't get home.
Shall we do
until
6:45?
6:30, so.
Do I hear 6:45?
Sounds good.
If we need to do 7, we can do 7.
7's okay. It's only one.
Yeah, and it's
7?
one topic.
Do 7.
7.
7, it just makes it easier
Okay.
for
Is that
Ross.
okay with staff?
I love being here until 10 p.m. No problem.
We're not going to be here that late.
Don't worry. By the time August
Set a
comes
timer.
around, that little, Okay.
Well, I did want to clarify the responsibility for the subcommittee for the evaluation, I guess.
Okay. So,
What's the subcommittee going to do?
Karen, do you want to speak to that, or do you want us to speak
I
to
was
that?
hoping
Well, we're getting the report.
We thought it was
this,
either or
the end
as
of this
well.
week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the only
So-
thing is that a majority of you cannot meet outside of a meeting.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you could decide amongst yourselves to look at it individually, or a subcommittee meets and looks at it.
I would love for us to have a subcommittee, and I would encourage everyone on this committee to be at the March 4th meeting or listen to it on TV, or whatever the medium you call it now.
Yeah.
And that will be televised, right?
I have no idea.
Okay. One would hope. And so, subcommittee, Barbara, do you want to speak about the subcommittee?
So, am I speaking to a specific question, or?
Well,
I'm
what do
I'm
you
trying to
ex-
clarify
Okay.
what the expectation.
So, I think I'll speak for myself. My expectation is that all the members on the subcommittee would read the material, kind of go out there, think about it. It's kind of the elephant in the room, because one of the important things I find, at least for me, going on this going over these kind of documents, is looking for what isn't there. Because it's a notification of notice of preparation. So they're talking about what they're going to cover, and this is our chance as citizens to say, hey, look, you did not consider this aspect of the project. This needs to be studied when they do the EIR. So it's really about looking for what the missing pieces of the puzzle. And then we give that feedback, and hopefully that feedback gets incorporated, and then the things that we suggest, those loopholes get closed before it's studied, so that that information can then be incorporated in the study, and the study can be thorough and meaningful.
Okay. And we just have a chance to discuss it
Yeah.
as the committee.
And
afterwards.
make recommendations.
Okay.
The subcommittee will discuss it. I hope that everybody else in the committee will also read the document,
Sure.
so that when we have our OSEC meeting, we can all put all 7 heads together, and hopefully not leave any big gaping holes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be like we did this extensively several years ago for the original EIR, but you want to think about wow, they didn't talk anything about the life in the water. What animals are normally in the water, and they haven't talked about what they're going to do to mitigate damage to those, or that type of thing. And so you're really looking for the gaps, and making sure that they're studying the things that we feel need to be studied and are important.
Like I remember one time, I remember in the traffic reports, they studied the exit right at town, and they studied the exit north of town, but nobody had told them they needed to study the exit south of town. And I thought that was
Yeah. So it's like the downstream effect too. It's like, okay, we're going to build this gigantic development out there. What's it going to do to the on-ramp in South City?
Yeah.
What's it going to do to the on-ramp, not just Brisbane, but the Brisbane impacts? How it's like right now, it takes you 10 minutes to get on the freeway, or how is it going to impact the signal light? The other day I got stuck at the signal light because there wasn't enough time for all the cars in line to get through it getting out of Brisbane. So those are the kind of impacts that you really look at. So do we have Barbara wants to be on the subcommittee. Do we have 2 other volunteers of people who want to be on the subcommittee, Carl?
Carl?
I would like to, but I'm actually going to be, I wanted to be here for the March 4th meeting, but I will be overseas during that week, so I don't think I can make as strong as a contribution.
Anyone else for the subcommittee?
I don't have time to do this one, unfortunately.
Oh.
So.
Well, I guess I will.
Okay.
I don't have time either.
Yeah.
This is one of the
Neither do
reasons
I.
why it's kind of like really,
Is it just, Michelle, you and Barbara then?
if that's all there is, unless there's...
I'll join you guys.
All right. So we're going to have to squeeze that in. It's going to be a pretty busy time. It would really, really help if we had the comments we made on the first round.
Yeah, definitely.
the ER.
Definitely. I don't want to.
You need that.
Yeah. So do we have that historically, those documents?
Probably, hopefully.
Can we?
Sorry.
Possibly.
I will look for them.
Okay, that'd be really cool.
I'm guessing they're there somewhere.
Yeah.
I might have to ask John for them.
Okay.
But yeah.
And if Glenn decides she wants to be on this subcommittee, I would step out.
That would be good.
Let
yeah.
Glenn do it, because she is much more qualified to do it than probably most of us, except Barbara.
Yeah, the 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll find that out. Okay.
Is one of you going to reach out to her, or would you like us to do that?
I would like you to do that if you could, just to make sure. I'm sorry, I'm so overloaded. I don't want to lose an important detail like that. I just my plate is really full right now. Okay. And you will get that document to us as soon as it
Try to find it as soon as possible.
No, I mean the notice of preparation.
I'm expecting you're all getting it from the same place that I'm getting it, and everyone else in the city is getting it.
If you get it 5 minutes before,
I'm not going to. I'm going to get it at the same time.
Okay. And should we get a longer timeline on that it's not a 30-day, they decide to extend it to 60 days, let us know. Hopefully they would do that. I think 30 days is pretty tight.
I think it's pretty standard, though, for notice of preparation.
Okay, so next on the agenda is staff updates.
I can start. So just wanted to update that our invasive species letters to nurseries were prepared. Michelle's signing them tonight. We'll get those out in the mail tomorrow. And we also included a letter to the school that Glenn had brought up. I guess I didn't mention this. Maybe I just found out about this since last meeting. So you guys will remember Mark Costa, our consultant from the Energy Coalition that worked with us on the benchmarking ordinance.
Yeah.
A few months back, he submitted an abstract for a paper to ACEEE, the American Council on an Energy Efficient Economy, I believe is what that acronym stands for. It's a pretty large, well-known organization. They have a huge conference every other year in Asilomar in August. And our abstract was accepted for both a paper and an oral presentation. So our ordinance will be the subject of a policy discussion at a pretty high level. So the paper, or the title, was Next Generation Benchmarking, Leveraging Benchmarking Ordinances for Decarbonization Planning. So it was pretty exciting, and I will be working with him on the paper portion of it at least.
Hopefully the presentation too.
Doubtful. August 16th to 21st.
Oh, okay.
Where?
Asilomar.
I don't even know where Asilomar is.
South.
Coast.
By
Apparently
Monterey.
it's a really amazing conference.
It's
It's
by
beautiful.
Pacific Grove.
Yeah.
I want to go.
It's a gorgeous I've done an event there.
I love energy efficiency. It's one of my
Really
favorite toys.
on our score.
Getting around to play with.
Yeah.
Very homey too.
Yeah.
So also related to the benchmarking ordinance, we put out our RFP for phase 2, And we only got one proposal from the Energy Coalition, so we are going to, that contract is actually on tomorrow night's City Council agenda, and we've already set a kickoff meeting with the Energy Coalition and their technology sub-consultant Malka for March 3rd. So we invited Ross and Carl. Unfortunately, we were trying to juggle a lot of people's schedules, so I know Carl isn't able to make it, but Ross, hopefully you will be able to be there for that one, and we'll kind of kick that project
Could I
off.
maybe be an alternate for Carl? That work?
I'm fine with that.
What's the date again?
March 3rd. It's a Tuesday. I think it's 10 to 12. I can send you an invite. So we also are moving forward with the Cal Recycle annual report. So Randy and I and Teresa Montgomery from Scavenger held a call with Cal Recycle, and we have a site visit planned for March 12th. So we'll be doing the usual, taking them to a few locations in town to talk about our recycling, composting efforts, waste diversion efforts. On a related note, I went up with Teresa to BES, to one of their Wednesday morning assemblies, and then returned at lunchtime to help kids with properly sorting their lunch trash. It was very fun.
I did that once upon a time.
Oh my gosh, how
Teach your
funny.
children well.
It was very cute.
So cute.
I have to say they did really well. Especially the compost and waste bins were great. The blue recycling bin, there was a little bit more of a mixed bag, but overall they did really good.
I love that.
It was very fun
Start
to
early.
be
They
able to
probably
go.
did a lot better than most 40-year-olds.
I'm sure.
No comment.
Yeah.
And then I think this is the last item I thought I'd mention, that we became aware in the Public Works Department of a sustainable infrastructure certification program that a number of our Public Works staff, engineering staff, are going to be participating in. It's through an organization called the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure. So give everybody a kind of overview of kind of best practices, current best practices in sustainable infrastructure. So it won't be just me carrying that torch. We'll have a broader kind of expertise within the department on that. I think that's all I had.
So there's the Crocker Trail Master Plan received proposals from 8 consultants, and the subcommittee is meeting tomorrow night to review and rank those proposals and decide if they need to interview or whether we can select one.
Yeah, I've already looked at all the proposals, and I started making a matrix on. They all look great, actually. Most of them are local. They all have great ideas, all pretty comparable as far as cost is concerned. So we are meeting tomorrow evening at 5:30.
And are any of them in particular more habitat oriented than other ones?
There are a few, and I think it's just because of the work they've done in the past.
So I'm hoping we get something that, is really works well with the native habitat and promotes the creek restorations and native plants and that type of thing.
They're all. I mean, all the presentations are. I don't know if you've taken a look at them. They're all very well done.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
Just a little bit myself, but I will by tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Safe Pedestrian Route and Green Infrastructure Project is out to bid now, and as you know, we had, or I think I explained, we found utility conflicts, some of them late in the process, and the costs have kind of gone up. We're hoping to award a contract March 5th. We're crossing our fingers that we don't have to reduce the scope at all. We got a grant again from CCAG for this to be a demonstration project to combine complete streets and our safe pedestrian routes as a complete streets project with green infrastructure. And right now our contract says we need to complete and pay the contractor and get paid by CCAG by June 30th. So we're trying our best to make that happen. We think it'll take 2 months to build. In the Guadalupe Channel Erosion Control Project, I met with Michelle and Barbara before this meeting, and that is in the permitting process. The environmental official environmental review has happened and mitigated negative declaration was awarded, but we're working through some issues that the community may have an interest in and before the plans get finalized and go out to bid. I'm hearing, I can't give you a lot of detail, but the planning department that oversees private trees is going to develop a database for the city website that indicates who has a notice to trim or a notice that they're allowed to remove a tree, so that that information is accessible to the public. And it sort of came out of someone trimming a tree on a weekend and not having their permit potentially with them at the time, and a lot of confusion about whether that tree was going to be removed and whether they had permission, and the information not being available on the weekend, not during office hours. So
I think that is really awesome. Because
I think that is so brilliant. Why did we not think of that?
well, for one thing, like last weekend, all weekend long, you could hear trees being ground up, and it would be nice to be able to just
Go on site and online and see.
And go, okay, they've got a permit, or oh, they don't have a permit. What the hell? What the heck are they doing? You know.
I haven't. Yeah, I think we'll need to think about if. Well, we don't usually give permits for street trees. Only PG&E trims trees in the right of way. So
one would hope.
Which is no, but we do for personal and property trees, correct?
Private property.
Okay.
Yeah. But you could hear, I mean, I couldn't tell where it was coming from, and I didn't go look because I didn't want to go look. But you could hear them grinding all day.
So more on that as it develops.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's it. Bob has a couple.
So, Michelle, you had asked about Calippi Hill.
Uh-huh.
So I talked to Hannah and Ken, and they had actually been meeting already in January. So they said, Ken's response is, the city attorney and planning staff have met with the county parks department and county council on January 30th, and the city and county are working together to follow up with the Toll Brothers to get the dedication completed. At this point, they don't have an estimated time frame from that dedication, but everyone's back on board and that ball is rolling again. So.
Okay. So could you report out again on this in April?
Sure.
I just want to stay on it. It's been years.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, it's going to get done, and I'm
Yeah.
tired of people not following through on it. So
Right. So they had already done that before I asked, so they were
that's because I already asked a couple months ago.
okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then and then the other stuff is just the Habitat Days.
Yeah.
So we are all on board for this year. We're doing the April 18th Earth Day back at our Monarch in Mission Blue. June 13th, we're going to go up above Trinity Road, and we coordinate with fire, so we'll be there before they do their fire abatement, so we will have more taller plants to pull out. September 2016th, we're going to go back to Harney Way right now, and then as we get closer, coordinate with San Francisco Public Works and Ecology, because they had done the big effort. Any of you guys make it last year?
Yeah.
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 So
They were out there painting and.
yeah. So I will check with them to see if it's going to be. Luckily, they didn't plan to go to our little area, and hopefully it all works out the same. But I'll be communicating with them as we get closer. So reach out to them in July or August. And then on December 12th, we're going to do a planting and cleanup at Firth Park. So if there's any ivy sprouts, we can remove those, and planting either down the canyon or further up the hill, but we'll scope that out as that date gets closer.
Okay.
So those are my reports.
Excellent.
Oh, and we did join California Invasive Plant Council. So now the City of Brisbane's a supporting member. So
Awesome.
we just joined that, and then the county, I just got an email this afternoon that they're all in the works reviewing to renew their MOU for the weed management area. So when that's renewed, then we'll go to council and suggest signing on, because it's about to expire. So, but that's all going forward, and so next meeting they are going to review the new MOU. So sometime shortly thereafter, we should be able to
Are you attending the March meeting?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and I attended the last one, so she just emailed me today and said it's on the agenda for the next meeting to review the new MOU with the weed management areas.
I'm really, really glad you're involved in that, Bob.
Yeah, there seems like it'd be a great resource when it comes up. It's not a big time investment for how much the return seems like it could be.
Yeah. Is that it for staff updates?
That's it.
Subcommittee reports? I'll just skip to events. What Bob said. No.
Exactly.
Open space, we still haven't planned a subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, I
But
think
Karen,
we
you
had-
have that on your agenda for when you got back from vacation.
I know, and I was sick, and I
Yeah. So
act on it.
let's try
Want to do
to
that after the notice of
yeah, we'll do that.
Sorry.
And climate action plan.
We met with Beth Grossman. We had an awesome session where we brainstormed questions for the Jeopardy game. We're starting to put that out on social media. The city's starting to push it out. I'm really jazzed. You guys are all welcome to suggest questions as well. What else do I need to say about that? Woo, come. Oh, question. Do we have to RSVP, or are we automatically RSVP'd?
It would be helpful if you would go ahead and
Okay.
RSVP. That way it's just in one place and I don't
All right.
have to worry about
Fine.
who
Yeah.
I need to add myself.
Sure.
And if you aren't able to come, I wouldn't have to go separately ask you that.
Yeah.
And then I guess we have another meeting scheduled as well to kind of finalize climate Jeopardy event plans.
So could you,
Forgetting the
in
date
case
exactly.
there is anybody who's watching, could you please explain what it is and when it is?
Okay. I have to look at the calendar. It's because I don't have the
18th.
date on the
March 18th.
March 18th. Thank
7
you.
p.m. right here.
At Mission Blue, we'll be providing light.
No,
here.
No, here. It's here.
Oh, here. Okay. God, why did I? Okay.
It's
Um,
here.
Only a mission.
Yeah, we discussed Mission Blue, but apparently we didn't decide that.
It's
And
here.
then
It's
City
not
Hall
available.
Here.
walking distance for most people.
Yeah. So, and then you come, you eat, you answer, you guess at questions, just like the Jeopardy game. And we'll have teams, and it's going to be like Jeopardy, but it's all about climate action planning and climate change. So that we hope that the questions and answers will be both challenging, informative, and fun. And there'll be a little time to talk and discuss afterwards. And what else do I need to say? It's like the TV show Jeopardy,
Please come.
except we don't have Alex Trebek, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have Beth Grossman. Why do we need?
Yeah, Beth Grossman will be even better than Alex Trebek.
And we're going to have food.
And there's food. I did
And
say
there's
food.
Yeah, food's
We
a big
can
attraction.
re-emphasize the food part. Definitely.
Okay. Events. Well, you heard about the Habitat Days from Bob, and on the day in the park, we haven't met on it, but one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was having a recycled arts and crafts kind of contest and show. And I would like us to go ahead and put that out there so that people can get started on their recycled arts and crafts. So is that possible? Does everybody like that idea?
I love it.
Any other? Okay. I did have one other idea for Day in the Park that kind of came up tonight on my way here. And that's, Barbara, this is kind of contingent on you, too.
What I do.
No, set up for Day in the Park, one of our activities at our booth would be to bring stuff you need to repair.
Yeah.
You know, like you'd have a little sewing station where you could bring something that needs
Like a
repair.
fix-it clinic.
Or sew on a button, or we'd bring, needles and threads and buttons and sewing machines and
Sure.
fix your stuff instead of throw it away. Because I can't even tell you how many people throw stuff away because a button falls off of it.
Yeah, I did drag my industrial sewing machine down to the community park one year.
When
And I baked and hated it. So as long as my industrial sewing machine and I can be under the awning this time, I'm cool with that.
you would be cool rather than hot.
I would be cool rather than sweating and blanching.
So that's just the other.
So I guess a couple of questions or clarifications. First, remember we have like a 10 by 10 space.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I totally understand exactly what you're expecting or envisioning out of the recycled arts and crafts.
Well, when I make
But it would be helpful to kind of probably have the events subcommittee meet to discuss that before we can really actually put anything out in that regard. And then the fix-it thing sounds an awful lot like a fix-it clinic, which the county has.
This is just fix-it garments.
Just fix-it garments.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not fix-it. We can't fix your electronics. We can't fix anything.
Okay.
We can help you.
Well, the other fix-it clinics are fix-it clothes and electronics and
we're not
all
that good
kinds
yet.
of other stuff. But there's a team of people that organizes them that has people who come.
Well, we were going to
train
start with,
volunteers and
buttons,
have all of that.
zippers, and seams.
Okay.
Well, could we get them to come to Brisbane?
We certainly could, and we actually discussed with the library staff doing that once they have a fix-it
facility.
clinic space. In
Yeah,
our
I mean, we that I
new
talked
library,
about it
so-
before. It's just never
Yeah.
That would be
anywhere.
great.
Yeah, we thought it would be helpful to have that space because it does
Okay.
work well at a place where you have all of those tools and things already at the location. So it's definitely something we would like to pursue, and they're always looking for places to host
That's
them.
awesome.
Okay.
So-
So we should have a subcommittee meeting for Day in the Park soon.
Okay. Yeah.
As when is the day in the park this year?
First Saturday in October.
I want to say it's the 3rd. I think it's on the
Third.
calendar when we
It's
get
in
to that
October
slide.
now?
Yeah. It's always been the first Saturday in October.
First, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did one in September.
Yeah.
Might have 1 year.
And then education and outreach, Mary and Mary.
Mary and Mary.
Really haven't done anything lately, but I was hoping to maybe replace some of the flyers up at the library, the current library, to maybe promote volunteer, all the different habitat days and put those dates out there so if people were interested, they could contact us.
Oh, if you find that board slightly rearranged, it was because Beth Grossman asked me to add a Jeopardy flyer to that.
Oh, okay.
So that was that. And then I'm not on education and outreach anymore, but I am teaching that sustainability workshop starting February 26th. So I think it's second and fourth Wednesday evening here at City Hall. So if anybody would like to come and kind of go through resource conservation with me, like how I got a PowerPoint thing and stuff going on. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, so I kind of worked a little bit with the San Mateo Office of Sustainability. So this is kind of a holdover from when I was on education and outreach. I just somehow just managed to get it together this year. Background noise in life, So please, spread the word.
Okay, invasive species ordinance, we have not met on that yet, but we will soon, very soon, especially now that we have a new hack to follow. Dark skies ordinance.
We have met a couple times. We picked sort of our model ordinance. We've got it up on Google Docs, and we need to start bashing away on that. We've made some good progress. We don't have anything to show for our efforts yet, but we're out there. And as Ross mentioned, we're probably going to narrow it down to commercial. And at some point later, we can see if we want to pick residential back up but for right now, we're just focusing on commercial.
And what can we do about enforcement of permits that have already been issued? Is there anything we can do about that, Karen?
I think that would probably be if some citizen made a complaint. Those things are usually complaint-driven, so I would guess somebody needs to let the city know because they may not have noticed themselves.
If you're talking about the Google buses,
Yeah.
right? And so I was at those meetings, and opposed the whole thing.
Yeah.
They said they were going to, those lights would be facing down. So, and they have a contingent permit, so I would strongly suggest that if the lights are too bright and they're facing up, is to call in and complain.
Yes.
Please.
And then the city will have a reason to do something about
Well,
it.
who do we
If they
officially
will.
complain to?
City council,
I think,
would
yeah, city council or even the planning department.
I'd say planning, or you can
Yeah.
even maybe that, what's that app?
The go request.
Go request
Go
would even be a
request.
good.
Go request goes to Public Works or
Okay.
police. There isn't a planning.
Okay.
Or a
Police.
planning
I would say
thing.
planning staff is the starting
Yeah.
point because they're the ones that issued the use.
Yeah. Okay.
Are
Right.
you on the planning staff, Karen?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No.
damn.
That's why she's so happy. With it.
Yeah.
Okay. Littman Science Fair. I think you guys talked a little bit about it already.
Yeah, it was successful.
Oh, look
we
at
got the
that.
picture. We got our
Awesome.
picture up there, yeah. So Carl, Barbara, and I were part of the Littman Science Fair event. And Carl and I went up and reviewed all the different science projects and nominated 3. We didn't do first, second, or third because they were all fantastic. And Barbara came up on awards night, and we were able to issue 3 awards to the 3 students you see on the screen. First was a retaining walls project where Jaden, the fella next to Barbara, used cardboard to determine the different sizes of retaining walls and what it would do to water retention, holding back water. It was very clever. Another project was the effects of temperatures on aquatic plants. It's kind of self-explanatory. And then we had another project. It was called Last But Rot Least. And the student demonstrated how organic fruit went bad faster than...
Get degraded
yeah,
more
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Actually, Mary, you're very impressive with your memory.
Oh,
I think we reviewed.
no, I have the pictures on my phone.
50 or so. Or
There's a
probably
lot of projects.
maybe 60 students. So.
Yeah, yeah.
And overall, I think it was very impressive, and I thought there was actually more students that had kind of a environmental theme
Yes.
that I would expect, but maybe that's an indication of the times,
Yep.
so I was very impressed.
Yeah. So,
well, yeah, we talked about how there were just too many well put together presentations to hand out stickers this year.
yeah.
Would have been putting stickers on everybody's.
But we do maybe we could rework the certificate for next year and maybe just add a few things to it. We also framed them, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it went well.
And 280 South Hill Funds, I guess you have a meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, we do. Carl and I are attending tomorrow night. As mentioned earlier, there are 8 proposals for landscape plans for Crocker Trail. And so they've provided all the background and what they plan on doing, the various workshops they plan on holding with all the stakeholders and the public, and pulling together all these different ideas to come up with a plan for the linear park that'll span across Crocker Trail and hopefully Quarry Road was one of our inputs to the plans. So that's being held tomorrow, and hopefully we'll whittle it down to 2 or 3, I would imagine, and then go before council with our recommendation.
Okay, tree issues, Barbara. Or Mary, or me.
I don't think we've met since the last.
No,
Yeah.
but I like the idea of having the tree permits online. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Liaison for benchmarking ordinance, I think that you already gave a staff report on that, and that's about where we're at. And then beautification with council, parks and rec. Megan, have they had any meetings?
They did, and I could just kind of give you an outline just because I pulled it. I missed the last meeting because I was working. But we're looking at weeds in front of the swimming pool, the pathways, throughout the stairways in the cities, making sure we get those taken care of. The bushes that are growing on the pathways on San Francisco and Santa Clara streets, to cut those back. The entrance to town, the median plants with the colors. And we're kind of looking at different areas like Cesar Chavez and Redwood City as examples. So we've taken pictures, different people brought in pictures. Flowers for Mission Blue, which is the ground cover near the Festival of Lights tree, might work. So we're looking at just some things like that. A lot of these are discussions, but pine trees at the dog park. So the Public Works wants to know where to plant them. So we're working with them on that. And the Mission Blue lawn, again, we're checking with Public Works and working with them on a lot of these things that we've looked at. That's about it. And we've got a lot of pictures that people had took of different locations that we thought were really beautiful that we're going to bring to the committee and make some decisions on.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Can I comment on trees, in particular eucalyptus trees? Given the terrible fires in Australia, I mean, there was a lot of those trees were eucalyptus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have we ever thought about slowly cutting some of those down in Brisbane and replacing them with others?
We've managed the cutting down. I don't think we've managed the replacing yet.
Actually,
Yeah.
if you notice in the work plan for up in the interface zone of the Brisbane Acres, they're treating stumps of eucalyptus that we've already paid to take down.
Yeah.
It's really difficult because it's expensive to take those trees down.
Mm-hmm.
And they do stump sprouts, and there are people who actually like them a lot because they are considered a lung tree. They produce.
Oh, I like them, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
given
It's just that
fire hazard.
Yeah.
they can be a fire hazard when left unchecked,
Yeah.
where they grow into like a huge forest. So yeah, there's been a lot of work on that over the years,
Yeah.
but they haven't made them illegal or anything.
Yeah.
And indeed, there's 603 species of eucalyptus. So I'm assuming you're talking about Eucalyptus globulus, which is the blue gum, the one that you see most prominent.
Yeah. Are those the ones in the back road?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that worry me most because if they go up, you're going to lose a lot of homes.
And unfortunately, a lot of those trees have gotten really, really large.
Yeah.
Have,
They're huge.
grown unchecked.
And plus they're a hazard during rainy season, right?
But the cost for removal of a eucalyptus tree is between $5,000 and $10,000 and maybe more. So it's not a simple matter to attend to.
Okay.
So the best thing to do is to continue to be vigilant about keeping the areas surrounding them clean, picking up their debris and their litter, and
So they can't catch fire.
so they
Yeah.
don't catch fire, and making sure that they stay healthy. Actually, as long as you have them, make sure that they're healthy. Don't let ivy grow all up in them because that makes them unhealthy. And while you think that ivy might prevent them from burning, it doesn't.
Yeah. Personally, I have what I think is maybe a slightly different take on this. We took out a bunch along San Mateo
Lane.
We're still treating those stumps, I believe.
Oh, wow.
They're
Yeah, and
still
we still
trying
haven't
to grow.
really grown back.
Okay.
We were supposed to plant buckeyes and bay trees, and that didn't happen. So
Yeah, and I think that was because they were still treating them up until fairly recently. No.
No, I think it just got dropped.
Okay. Well, I would like to see those replanted before we take down the next round of trees. I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
I don't think they're going to get replanted at this point.
The buckeyes or whatever we're going to put in there.
Nobody's maintaining that except for a couple of citizens have tried to help.
Okay.
It's really hard because this is what happens. You take out something, something else moves right in. Like in the case of Salmontail Lane, it got completely overrun with ivy and blackberry because
Something low.
The trees were suppressing.
the trees, the eucalyptus trees were suppressing other things. And so you have to have a long-range maintenance plan when you go and remove stuff. And this is kind of like we do have a long-range maintenance plan with the trees, the eucalyptus trees we removed on city property. And it's one of the problems that we're going to have with enforcing an invasive species overlay is the initial capital outlay to remove invasive species that are expensive to remove, like eucalyptus. So we're not giving up, and you raise a really good point that's been raised many times, and we're still working on it, and we need to continue to work on it. So continue to bring it up, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could we maybe get a staff update in April, just to see where we are with the eucalyptus on Salmontail Lane? Like, are they done treating it? Are they still planning on replanting? Just, bring us back in the loop, because I think maybe Michelle's right that maybe it just got lost in all the millions of other things that we're trying to manage.
Yeah, I can check. They were removed quite a while.
Many years ago.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just time to pick up that ball again.
And I just wanted to just say one cautionary thing about fires. If you ask fire staff in a vacuum about trees, they'll say create a 75-foot defensible space around your structure, remove all vegetation.
Yeah.
So
That would leave our
Yeah,
community pretty ugly.
Yeah, so you
lots
can't
of
lean
it.
on just that.
Yeah.
But those eucalyptus are invasive, and ideally they would get removed, but they are expensive. So
Yeah. So as
I
with
say remove these because of fire, because fire would want to remove.
I mean, I would advocate replacing them with something else.
Yeah.
So,
But that's the thing is that even some of the things that you replace them with can become hazardous also. I mean, best of intentions, you look at the grove of
Gotta
redwood.
strike a balance.
Yeah, you look at
Yeah.
the grove of redwood trees. It's now growing in the middle of Brisbane around the current library. And people are like, well, those are heritage trees. I'm like, then I must be a heritage person because they were planted in 1980. And look how giant they are now.
They're huge.
And they're really at the point where they're not easily removed.
And very expensive.
And very expensive and very, so, every good deed.
did take out one or two of them, I think.
yeah.
They were crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the situation with that. Okay.
Thank you.
Onward and upward calendar items.
Oh, they've been gone forever. Before I moved in here.
Yeah. I talked to Ingrid, and she said there's lots of applications in for the other
Position.
vacancies,
Mhm.
and so I think we're covered, which is good. So hopefully, City Council can move forward on choosing people.
The only other thing I was going to point out here is that we have scheduled someone from the County Office of Sustainability that is leading the county disposable foodware ordinance for our April meeting to come give a presentation. The county ordinance has already gone through one reading and is expected to be approved, I think, next week. So they are hoping to have cities that want to also participate in a kind of county-wide outreach and enforcement of such an ordinance to adopt similar legislation within ideally 6 months at most, sooner the better. So they are going to come in April to talk to this committee about that and, hopefully get kind of formal approval or recommendation from this group.
Okay, chair and committee matters. Oh, hearing none, let's move on to next meeting, which will be actually scheduled for Tuesday the 10th at 7 p.m. Our regularly scheduled meeting is being replaced by a community resilience gathering to play Jeopardy! And the following meeting will be April 15th. Do we want to continue to have meetings at 6:30? I know we've had some challenges with getting here at 6:30. And I really, if we're going to have meetings scheduled to start at 6:30, I'd like us to start at 6:30. So do we need to move the time of the meeting, or is 6:30 still the time that everybody wants?
I don't think we want to move it later.
No,
Yeah.
6:30 is good.
Okay, then I'd like a commitment from all of the committee members to be in your seat by 6:30 going forward at the beginning of the meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And so is there a move to adjourn or any other things? Okay. We're adjourned. Woo.
Thank you.
10 more letters to sign.
Good to see you again. Thank you.
Thanks,
LinkedIn was a different. So many things going on.
Yeah, life.
Oh,
Yeah,